This argument is starting to spread a little bit. Gina Carano. Buck, did you ever watch The Mandalorian on Disney Plus?
I thought the first season was excellent, and then it kind of crashed into the planet.
Laura, my wife, watches all these shows, and she watches them generally with our boys. They love The Mandalorian. It was a Disney Plus Star Wars related show. Disney fired Gina Carano for having what I would say is just a little bit right of center opinions on social media. She later sued. They fired her in 2021. Friday last week, Disney apologized to her and basically said, hey, we're going to rehire you. We talk about these things because I do think the cultural significance of them is becoming more and more paramount. And Buck, I'll add this. I saw this story up at Mediaite and also up at Outkick. Sydney Sweeney, the ad that was so controversial, we were all told, only 12% of Americans, according to a big poll that was conducted, actually found this ad in any way offensive. 40% thought that it was a very successful ad. A lot of other people didn't care at all one way or the other. But it is interesting how the left wing, I think their ability to bully and try to force people not to be able to say, hey, being a white girl with blue eyes and blonde hair is a perfectly fine advertisement. The way that they ran and hid from this and tried to, they've gotten used to being able to bully people into apologizing and not doing ads like this. I do think the best advice I have for anyone out there is do the opposite of what's popular on Twitter. And very often your business will thrive because Twitter is not real life. And I think this is yet more evidence of that being true.
Well, X now is a lot more reflective of real life than it used to be.
That's
I remember it. It's funny, ever since the social justice communists were kicked out of there by Elon, I never get dragged, they used to call it, piled on publicly by some random writers from Vox or something. This just doesn't happen anymore.
Yeah,
and I
true.
think there was a tremendous amount of both suppression and amplification in favor of communist madness. We know there was. I mean, that's Elon bought it, and we saw that, and that was real. They're honestly so many of these people who a decade ago loved to be all tough on Twitter. They're all leftist cowards. They don't pick fights anymore. They don't want to, because they know now that they don't have the rigged game in effect. So I'm very grateful that has changed.
Let me play a couple of clips for you that are starting to echo throughout the internet ecosystem. The chief of police for D.C., they had a press conference. Mayor Muriel Bowser was also there. The chief of police had absolutely no idea what the phrase chain of command was, and had listened to this clip and think to yourself, does this sound like a person who should be in charge of keeping people safe in D.C.? The mayor then has to step in, and I think it's evidence of what we have kind of told you, which is I think the mayor does want additional resources. Politically, it's just hard for her to endorse the decision made by Donald Trump. But listen to this clip.
That's what the chain of command is now?
What does that mean?
Well, is it Pam Bondi speaking to the mayor, speaking to you, or how does this work?
So the executive order is clear. The president has requested MPD services, and our home rule charter outlines the process. The president designated Attorney General Bondi as his proxy to request services through me.
Okay, so I know that's a little bit confusing. The video makes it easier. The chief of police did not seem to understand the concept of chain of command. And so she had to step back, and then the mayor came in and kind of explained how this was laying out, which is the president is at the top of the chain of command in D.C. as it pertains to federal leadership there, which I do think is kind of important. All right, I wanted to play this for you, Buck, because you just came back from New York City recently. You were up there with your family. You're born and raised in New York City. George Will, I think he's still at the Washington Post, one of the foremost conservative columnists of the last 40 years, probably, was on with Bill Maher, and he said the same thing that I said recently, which is sometimes you just have to let Democrats deal with the consequences of their choices. And so this argument is starting to spread a little bit, and I want to get your take because I don't know that you've talked about what you saw in New York City and how the city felt, but listen to this.
Here you have Trump, who is the Republican, who is aggrandizing more power than anybody, as we just talked about. And on the other side, you have the guy running in New York, Mandami, right? Okay, who's like a straight-up communist. I mean, he is. He talks about, the things that communists say. I mean, he wants free grocery stores, free buses.
I want him to win.
You want him to win?
Yeah. I think every 20 years or so.
Wait.
We need every 20 years or so, we need a conspicuous, confined experiment with socialism so we can crack it up again.
Okay. Buck, you were just in New York City. It seems like there's sort of a slow-moving panic setting in because Mamdani is remaining in the lead, even though he's clearly got communist opinions. Neither Cuomo, Eric Adams, nor Curtis Sliwa has been able to say, hey, this is going to be the primary adversary. What's the vibe there so far as you could tell? And what do you think of George Will's argument?
Well, the vibe is the slow growth of the panicking mindset, I think, that Mamdani is going to win.
Yes.
Because the alternatives to him, none of them are good, and they're all very good at canceling each other out. And I know, please don't send me the Curtis Sliwa. Sure, Curtis is a great guy. I've interviewed him before. He's not going to be the mayor of New York City. Okay, it's just not going to happen. So I wish that was not the case, but this is a bit like when libertarians once every 4 years send me our candidate's going to win the presidency. No, he's not. Okay, it's not going to happen. Yeah. So please don't send me those emails. And I think that unfortunately, Mamdani is going to be the mayor, and that's going to result in some real problems for the city. As for George Will, I mean, look, I cannot abide what is still my hometown, and I cannot abide the largest city in America being burned down as some kind of a message because the communists never get the message. It's not like they're going to learn. It's a bit like dealing with children, Clay, when you have to tell them, you know what, you can't actually just have like ice cream and pizza every night for dinner, and you're going to eat good food. Like, we just have to be in charge, and the leftists have to not be in charge. They never learn the lesson. They will keep burning their hand touching the stove when it's hot. They never learn the lesson. So I disagree with George, who, by the way, lives in Chevy Chase. I was talking about Chevy Chase before. So he lives in a very rich, very affluent suburb of D.C., and it's easy for him with a little bow tie on, who's been wrong about everything Trump-related, I might add. He's been one of those. Trump wouldn't get into his country club, I'm sure. But, I think that it's a bad idea because the lessons aren't learned. I mean, look at San Francisco. They dial it back a little bit, but it's not like the Democrats have said, you know what, San Francisco governance was a bad idea. We're going to change no. The communist never gets tired of being a communist because it's not about what is, it's about what makes them feel. And that's why I think New York City as a lesson, very easy for George Will to say, but I don't think New York City as a lesson will actually have the intended result. I'd rather us just move in the other direction and get points on the board, right? Because I don't think his thing about it being an example is true. It'd be one thing if it actually was going to be, the whole country will learn. You know what happened in New York City? Giuliani came in and fixed the city. That was the lesson. They didn't learn from previous Democrat hellscape experiments in New York. They didn't learn from Dinkins and Koch and, yada, yada, go back. So you want victory. You don't want defeat. Defeat is not a good teacher, unfortunately.
My only argument is I think it makes it more likely that we win the House if people like Mamdani and AOC are the face of the Democrat Party by 2026.